All right, let's begin. This is Josh from Zoe's partnerships team. Welcome you to the latest Zoe Merchant webinar. Today we're going to be focusing on the newly launched Glew.io analytics that is available to you as a Zoe customer. We're really excited about this, and you'll see why as we get into the presentation today. There's a lot of new information that Glew provides that our previous solution, Giraffe, did not. And so that's part of the reason why we're doing this. We want to help educate you about what you can now leverage as part of this. We know this is new for everyone, including us in the Zoe side, so we're all in this together, and we're going to definitely continue to work with you as Glew becomes more prevalent with our customers to really maximize how we all use it together to build everybody's businesses up. Before we begin with the presentation, we want to remind you, for those who are new to this, also educate you that we have a questions feature inside the GoToWebinar software where you can submit your questions for Q&A. We're going to have a full presentation for you, and then we'll do Q&A at the end, so that way we can ensure that we get through everything within the time we have available. So be sure to submit any questions as you go. It doesn't matter how big or small, we'll definitely address them at the end. If we happen to run out of time before we get through everybody's questions, we will send out written Q&A afterwards. And as always, a recording of this presentation will be made available afterwards on our Merchant Webinars page. That's also where you can keep track of when we announce new webinars. So be sure to bookmark zoe.com/merchant-webinars and check it periodically. We've got almost 20 recordings now, going back a little over a year since we started the series. So plenty of great information about a variety of topics that can help you as a business owner. So let's set the table for what we're going to be talking about today. So for those of you who are merchants, which is nearly all of you, I see a few partners in here as well, you certainly understand the basics about e-commerce and the metrics, and Giraffe helped with that. Seeing your sales, seeing your revenue and how it's growing over time, the number of customers you have, some basic abandoned cart information. But as your business grows, there's other types of information and analysis that can be very helpful to understanding the health of your business. So for instance, not just the abandoned cart rate, but the recovery rate of that abandoned cart. How many of those do you convert? How many of your customers are new versus repeat customers? Are all of your customers coming from your marketing, or are you getting customers to come back and purchase again? Repeat customers are a sign of a very healthy business if you have people coming back over and over. So what's your customer repurchase rate? What percentage of your customers actually come back and buy again? What's your lifetime value of a customer? It's not just the first purchase, it's how much they buy over time. So, if you spend $10 to bring a customer in, but they buy $10,000 worth of goods and you have a margin of 10%, you've just made $1,000 off that $10 investment. So it's good to know exactly what your customers are doing for your business. And that also means not just customer profitability, but product profitability. Are you attracting customers that are buying the right type of products, the ones that are making you the most money? Are you attracting customers that cost you money, because between the acquisition and the product costs, you're not making anything? So as you get deeper, these statistics get more nuanced. And so having a tool that can help you with these nuances and showing you more detailed information is important. That's why we partnered with Glew. So today on the call, we have Mark Miano, who's with Glew.io. He's going to give you a walkthrough of Glew and help you understand some areas of interest that will help you hit the ground running as you get settled in. We will also, at the end of the presentation, remind you about how to set this up, so that way, if you haven't enabled Glew on your store yet, you know what needs to be done. It's not a difficult process. It just requires a few steps, though. So if you haven't done that yet, you'll need to initiate that before the data flows, but it will grab all of your historical data, which is the good news. So all of that said, let's pass it over to Mark now so he can talk a little bit more about Glew.
Great. Thank you, Josh. And I'm just testing everyone. Josh, you can see my screen?
Absolutely.
Sounds great. Well, hello, everyone. It's very nice to meet you today. My name is Mark Miano. Excuse me. I'm our VP of Sales here at Glew, and very excited to present to everyone, which is our new partnership over at Zoe. Very brief history. My name is Mark. I've been selling analytics tools all my life, and have been very pleased to be here at Glew. And a brief history of Glew, very quickly. We are the world's largest multi-channel analytics system. So what I'm about to show you today, we've designed with the help of companies like the Shark Tank, the NFL, Kleenex, and some of the biggest companies in the world. But just note that 99% of people who have ever used Glew services are the smallest companies or the biggest companies you've never heard of. And I'm really excited to show you today how we can help. In order to structure our call today, there's going to be a few phases. The first thing is getting familiar with the user interface. Just want to show you where a few buttons are and some of the basics. The second thing is going to be the goals that Glew will help you accomplish. And the last thing will be a majority of the call, which is what I call the 4 cornerstones, the cream at the proverbial top of your Glew subscription so you can go ahead and get started, and then we can finish up with some Q&A like Josh mentioned. So a good way of thinking of Glew is the blending of data. So if I go over the integrations page over here, what you'll actually see is many of the apps that you're going to have the ability to integrate into your Zoe Analytics or Glew system. The only ones that you're going to need is going to be Zoe and Google Analytics to get started, and everything else will be nice to haves. But of course, the more data that you can get into the system, the better, okay? That would be Zoe, Google Analytics, AdWords, AdRoll, Bing, Facebook, Instagram, MailChimp, NetSuite, Amazon. This list will grow and grow as we become more sophisticated in this space. So just always keep your eye on the ball when it comes to the new integrations that we're going to offer. If you're looking at my screen, we're going to start with the navigation bar here on the left, and highlights will be where a lot of the metrics that we're used to with Giraffe will reside. Performance will be all about profitability. Orders is exactly what it says. It's going to be about your orders. Customers will be all the customer data. Products will be all the product level data. And then reporting will be where you can design and schedule reports to hit unlimited amounts of people's inboxes, including your own. To get us started, we're going to first talk about the triangle, okay? The triangle is a good way of thinking about Glew from a feature standpoint. Glew triangulates data. There are three pieces of this triangle, and we're going to tease and stretch and pull this triangle, the edges of this triangle, in order to derive the actionable insights that you're after. The first piece of the triangle is going to be the finances of your company. Revenue will be pulled in directly out of the Zoe Cart system, but revenue is not the only financial data that you need to make business decisions. You're also going to need your cost of goods sold. With a simple download and upload of a CSV file, we can go ahead and get your cost of goods sold into the system. Advertising spend, right? Any channel that you integrate into Glew, we're going to pull that advertising spend. So that will be one corner of the triangle. The second piece of the triangle is time. The more data that we have, the more powerful our decision making can be. So never be afraid to take advantage of the historical data. The third piece of the triangle is web traffic or Google Analytics. So knowing that triangle, I can now ask myself questions like, and pay attention here, I wonder what day of the week in the holiday season was most profitable for me when it came to that AdWords strategy that I rolled out. Well, on a question that complex, what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and look at the holiday season, like I already said, okay? And then we're going to overlay that data over the day of the week, and we're looking at profitability, right? Because we went to it's profitable. But that's still a two-dimensional viewpoint. I said I wanted to see how that worked for my AdWords strategy. So I'm going to click Apply Filters, click Channel, and I'll click my AdWords strategy if you're tagging with UTM codes, which everyone should be doing. And now what I've done is I've answered that really challenging question. If you like what you see in Glew, everyone, make sure you save your strategy. You can add metric to a report or add metric to a new report. And when you do this, you're going to build out your reporting, like a mini dashboard here in the My Report section. And anything that you see, you can go ahead and schedule those reports to hit your inbox or anyone else's inbox on an unlimited basis. So as you get more and more sophisticated throughout the demo, it's really important that we note where that web traffic button is, where that reporting button is, and how to leverage that triangle so we're taking steps forward and never steps back. Knowing that the features are now out of the way, let's now talk about the goals that Glew will help you accomplish. There are two goals. We're going to only talk about two of them. Goal number one is maximizing your lifetime value. That's going to apply for your current customers, right? The customers you already have, we're going to ensure that you upsell those customers completely. That would be goal number one. Goal number two is acquiring the right customer. Hint, the right customer is the customer who has the highest potential lifetime value. I'll give you an example. Recently, I brought a bathing suit for my wife, okay? Went on a website that sells bikinis, bought a bathing suit for my wife. I am not the right customer for that company. I am not planning on buying another woman's bathing suit anytime soon, right? It was a one-time thing. So what we're doing is what I'm trying to say is we're going to raise the bar when it comes to our acquisition strategy to attract the highest paying customers. And then we're going to flip back to that original goal, which is ensuring that those customers I just acquired who have such a great potential when it comes to LTV actually see that lifetime value fulfilled. Visually, let's take a look at what that looks like. If I go into customers' lifetime value, and let me zoom out to 365 days here, and let's take a look at some historical data. This is a great menu to take a look on if you're actually accomplishing those two goals at the same time. Can you walk and chew gum at the same time is what I'm asking you. This is the lifetime value of the store in a rolling 12-month window. This line should be looking steady and true, moving from the southwest quadrant into the northeast quadrant over time. If you think about it, both of those goals I just mentioned are at work on the slope of this line. Goal number one is pushing the line up. That is the repeat customer, right? Let's take Kleenex, for example. I'm almost 30. My lifetime value as a 30-year-old will be smaller than someone who is 80. I have sneezed less, right? So over time, lifetime value will naturally rise and will continue to rise and to push that line up. The force pushing the line down is also healthy. It's the blue here. It's the new customer. Each new customer has a lifetime value of 0. And that will put natural pressure on the slope of this line. So if you see a big spike in your lifetime value, don't pop the champagne yet, guys. You might actually be setting yourself up for failure, i.e. not bringing in fresh blood into your pipe so you can upsell to those customers later. So again, I'll stress it again. We're going to increase and max lifetime value for your current customer base, but we also need to ensure that we have healthy, fresh blood moving into the store as well. We also want to acquire the right customers over time. The 4 cornerstones that I'm going to review today are optimizing 4 things in your e-commerce strategy. They're optimizing who you are selling to. They're optimizing what you are selling to them. They're optimizing where you are selling to them. And they're optimizing when you are selling to them. If we think about it in a really reasonable way, if we find somebody that wants to buy something from your store, where and when they're looking for it, they're going to pull the trigger and buy from you. So it's really important that we don't just have 3 of the 4 cornerstones in your strategy. We need all 4 of these cornerstones in your strategy so we can create maximum efficiency in your day-to-day. To begin, we're going to optimize who you are selling to. Now, we will talk about segmentation in this phase. There is no secret that segmentation is one of the most important and easiest things to do when it comes to increasing conversion rates and therefore profitability. And when you get acclimated with Glew, you'll find many out-of-the-box segments ready to go and ready for you to use. We're not going to talk a lot about those out-of-the-box segments today, guys, because Glew offers something different and unique that no other system offers, which is called custom segmentation. What custom segmentation allows you to do is it allows you to build segments around your own business rather than being forced to using segments that some software company thought were a good idea at the time. So, for example, we work with, and some of these are B2C. I know that there's a lot of B2B people on the call, but for the sake of simplicity, we'll use both B2C and B2B examples. We do work with the NFL and many sports teams around the world, actually. If you think of sports teams, they're very unique in the aspect that they have to segment out their customer base by geographic region, right? Try sending a bunch of New York Giants jerseys out to Seattle, right? And you're going to have a really bad time doing that. So instead of doing that, what if we segmented out by geographic region, saying state is Washington, maybe city is Seattle, and every single time it's time to market to Seahawks fans, I'm not scratching my head wondering where to send that paraphernalia. I pick the segment which is forever living and updated in Glew, send out the email with the right content, watch that conversion rate spike and the profits roll in. Now, not many people can relate to sports leagues, right? There's only a few sports leagues in the world. So let's take another client of mine that sells all kinds of different food, okay? It's a food delivery company. Great retention rate. They're growing 40% year over year. because of their creative retention-based programs. One that can apply both to B2B and B2C is the 1-year anniversary program. Hey, it's been exactly 1 year since you bought from me. Here's $5 to spend in my store today and today only. Thank you so much for your business, right? Relationship length equals exactly 365 days. Maybe the number of orders is greater than or equal to 1. And every single day, the same campaign, like clockwork, goes out to a fresh batch of emails. That conversion rate pops and the profits roll in. I encourage you, one of the first things you want to do is go into customer segments and take a look at how your custom and pre-defined segments are performing against one another. I always joke, but with great sincerity, that I can learn more about your business in about 90 seconds via looking at this very specific screen on your monitors right now and ranking your segment performance via the date picker, by ranking them by lifetime value and revenue and AOV. This is a really great page, but just for the sake of time, we're going to go ahead and move on to what. What are we going to sell to your customers? I'm going to go to products. I'm going to go to products list. This is a very big question. I know many of, especially in B2B, a lot of people have many, many, many SKUs, right? Maybe thousands of SKUs in some way, shape, or form. This is such a big question. We're going to cleave this question into 2 separate questions. What do I sell to my current customer base? And what do I do when it comes to customers who haven't bought from me yet, my future customers? For my current customer base, what I'm going to do, yes, segments apply to products too, but I'm going to click into the product detail. When I click into the product detail, I'm going to get everything I need to know about the very specific SKU in order to make as much money off it as possible. For that current or that first goal, what do I sell to people who I currently have as customers? We're going to rely on the basket analysis. When people buy the Leopard clutch, 14% of the time they buy the Chris English shoe, and 12.9% of the time they buy the Samantha pump. This is based off of Zoe data, not Google Analytics. This is revolutionary. This is real purchase history that we're looking at, and there is value on the screen alone, but Glew does not stop here. When I come over into the customer section again, I'm going to click into the customer detail. When I click into the customer detail, I'm going to get one source of truth on every single individual in my store. We are going to take a look at what that person bought from you in the past. And using that basket analysis on each product, like I just showed you, we're going to match up each individual with the exact products that they should be presented with in order to maximize their average order value and therefore lifetime value. When I come into customer segments, what you'll find is if you're using MailChimp, and we're going to be releasing many different email engines in the future. When I click push to MailChimp, 2 things will push over to MailChimp for now. Thing number 1 is the segment itself. We will literally clean your email engine for you. As people buy and things change over time, these segments will be cleaned by Glew every night. The second thing that we push is email address by email address, the exact products that each specific individual should be presented with. And therefore, we've maximized lifetime value for your store. We've maximized average order value with that dynamic, personalized product presentation. We've optimized purchase frequency with that segmentation optimization. Very important. All right, Mark, that's cool. But what about the people who haven't bought from me yet? What do I present to them? The lifetime value of the product. What this tells me is people who buy the Leopard clutch will spend $116 with me until they either die or I go out of business. The play is taking my products and ranking them in order of lifetime value. The higher the lifetime value of the product, the earlier in the customer experience I'm going to present that product with the purpose of attracting the highest paying customer. Now, forgive me for this example. I know it's B2C, but let's use a B2C example again. We work with a company that sells and resells Mac and Apple products. This company does not need Glew to tell them that the iPhone has a higher lifetime value than the iPhone charger. That is common sense. The iPhone is more expensive than the iPhone charger. The iPhone triggers other purchases like the screen protector, the case, the apps, etc. What's not so obvious though is, does the white, black, or gold iPhone attract the highest paying customer? It's the white iPhone, but that wasn't so obvious to this company. So what I challenge you to do is I challenge you to go to product list, okay? What you're going to want to do is you're going to want to go into a predefined segment, and you're going to want to rank your products in order of lifetime value. Now, we're not just going to concentrate on that lifetime value number all by itself, because we need to make sure that we're finding statistical significance. So I'm going to come up here, I'm going to pin the lifetime value of the product, and I'm also going to pin orders. What I'm looking for are products with a high lifetime value and a high amount of orders, so that number, right, which is the lifetime value of the product, is quote unquote actionable and statistically significant. If I look at this one, the blue C belt, all this tells me is maybe 61 people like the belt that are really rich. Whereas if I look at the herringbone weekender, wow, 770 orders with a really solid LTV, that's much more actionable. So you're going to look for that healthy balance of both. Great. We're now going to move into where. Where do we find the highest paying customer? Customers, lifetime value. And if I scroll down, what you'll see is LTV-based customer profitability. What I'm going to do is I'm going to rank my channels in order of lifetime value. We need to take a stop here and talk about attribution model and attribution models. If you've ever advertised using channels, AdRoll, AdWords, Facebook, whatever it might be, you know the challenge of measuring ROI across multiple channels. What's happening when you look in these accounts is the numbers never match up. They never will, okay? Facebook, it is in Facebook's interest when in front of you to pick a grading system that benefits their platform. Same thing with AdWords and same thing for Bing. What they're doing is they're using different attribution models or grading systems in order to tell you, hey, Mr. Customer, my advertising platform generated you $2 million this year, to be really random on you. That's an inflated number. If you add up all of those numbers inside each of your individual ad channels, you will find that the sum of those numbers is much higher than the amount of money that you made for that time period. The real problem is not trusting the channels. I expect these channels, and you should too, to try to make themselves look as good as possible in front of you. What you should really be concerned about is the ability to compare the performance of these channels against one another, okay? To compare with what you're doing right now with Glew, it'd be like comparing an SAT score with a GMAT score with a MCAT score, right? Like, although scores, they're different tests, so comparing the scores would make absolutely zero sense. With Glew, we are that third-party objective teacher in the front of the room. We don't care who you advertise with. We care that you understand your business. In that way, we use one attribution model. It is called a first purchase attribution model. It's not last click, okay? It's a first purchase attribution model. What that means is the channel that triggered the first purchase for John Doe gets credit for all of John Doe's purchases forever, no matter what. And this will apply to everything. Even if I come over here to like overview, and you want to take a look at your revenue by channel or your net profit by channel, what this tells me, if you're looking at my screen here, is in March 2018, this company made $45,370 from people who bought first from them from organic search. That's what we're telling you, okay? So knowing this, we now have a play. If I come back here to lifetime value, is I have, let's say, 1,779 people coming from referral, and these people pay $181 each with me. I have 910 people coming from email, and these people pay $257 with me. Well, $257 is a lot more than 181. So whatever effort and strategy I have behind a lower LTV effort and strategy, I'm going to push that effort into my higher LTV strategy. And when I do this, the number of new customers will rise in that higher LTV channel. That rise in new customer will put natural pressure on the lifetime value of that channel. And what you're aiming for is for this column right here to be just about the same dollar amount. And when you've done that, you've optimized your advertising spend over time. Probably will never happen because we have many other variables that work in your store, but really helpful to know what you're aiming for. Of course, it goes without saying, you're going to want to take into account CAC, profit per new customer, et cetera. But again, we have a lot to cover today, and we're going to move on, but a very helpful place to whet your appetite for clicking deeper into these channels and maybe looking at these on a campaign level and coming back with some questions. Great. We're now going to move into when. When do we reach out to our customer base in order to reactivate them, in order to get them to buy again? We solved this problem for you. There will be an active, at-risk, and lost customer status attached to every customer in your store. In fact, look, status, active. If I come over into the customer detail, oops, let me click into like Charlotte Stewart, for instance. Active, at-risk, and lost. These are mutually exclusive, meaning an individual cannot be more than one of these at once. They're either active or at risk or lost. This status is dictated by your company's lapse point. A lapse point is the amount of days that you have with one of your customers to get that customer to buy again before chances are, based on your store's history, they're not coming back. Now, if you think about it, someone who's selling maybe heavy refrigerating systems for restaurants or something will have a much longer and deeper lapse point than someone who's selling the food that goes into that refrigerator. So what we do is we crawl through every repeat purchase that your store has ever had. We average out the distance between all those repeat purchases and calculate and identify a lapse point that's unique, specific, and actionable for your store. Note, this lapse point can be overridden in store settings. A good idea to override a lapse point would be one of these two things. If you're a very new store, if you're extremely new and don't have a whole lot of historical data, maybe you should override the lapse point for the time being as your data matures. What if you have a goal? Maybe I'm selling food and my lapse point's 30 days when really I want that lapse point to be 7. Well, why don't you set goals for yourself and operate off of a optimal lapse point that you think would benefit your store? So there's different ways that you can do this. Now, it's really important we quickly understand how to treat these customers based on their lapse point. Active customers are less than 80% of the way through their lapse point. Now is not the time to get these people to buy again. We need to make it their idea to buy again, right? We need to get them their receipt, make them happy, tell them how to use the product. If you're selling B2C, show them a celebrity enjoying the product. I don't know, but make them feel loved and build that trust with them while they're in the halo period. At-risk customers are over 80% of the way through their lapse point. Now I'm getting a little bit worried. Now is the time to push a little bit. Now, the data science behind this is this. Let me go to, I'm going to go to custom segmentation. Bear with me 1 minute. At customers, create a segment. Let's say number of orders equals 1. And maybe customer status is at risk, right? If I had a first purchase at risk customer, the data science behind this, if I were to incentivize them in some way, shape, or form, is not necessarily for the second purchase itself. The second purchase is necessary and welcomed, of course. But the reason I would ever provide some type of incentive here is to build habits. I want them to buy a 3rd, 4th, and 5th time all on their own. That's the data science. If I had a lost customer, they're not lost forever. That's a very morbid way of looking at it. We're just going to treat them differently. It's defense against the unsubscribe button. Remember, when they hit that unsubscribe button, that's terminal cancer for your store. Their lifetime value hits a brick wall. We've lost the opportunity to sell to them. So we have to be creative when it comes to our touch points, right? New product launches, that 1-year anniversary campaign. We have to be very creative when thinking of how do we add value while being cautious at that unsubscribe button at the same time. And again, when you line these things up over and over again, I encourage you to save your reporting, create systems inside your company. I also encourage you to go into products deeper. We're not going to get into a lot of products today. If I had another hour with you, maybe in the next webinar, Josh, we talk about inventory and inventory segments and sell-through rates and such.
Absolutely.
But for now, that's going to be it. Yep.
Great. Well, so that was a lot of information in a half hour, I know, for a lot of you. So let's just take a quick moment to summarize some of the things here. So obviously, inside Glew, and we still have it up on the screen just so those of you who are sort of following along can still catch up a little bit. There's a lot of basic information that's generated just by visiting these different screens. So we encourage you to explore the orders, customers, product screens, get to know them, understand them. The filters are really where the power starts to kick in, as you saw, being able to layer different information on top, create customer segments. As you start to integrate things like MailChimp, you can push those customer segments to MailChimp. So really, like Zoe itself, Glew has a baseline set of capabilities that you can get to use right away and leverage and really get on the ground running. And then there's sort of the extras that as you get to know the platform, you really start to be able to use it more smartly and more deeply. So obviously, for those of you who may not have been able to follow all of this because you're still getting to know Glew, keep in mind that we will have this recording available within 24 hours. We encourage you to come back and sort of watch it again once you've spent a little time in Glew, because I think it'll sink in a bit more with a repeat showing. This is one of those things that you just can't learn in a day, right? But at the same time, hopefully this was helpful to everybody to understand the power of what we are offering you relative to what you had before. So that said, let's talk about a couple of things here. So first of all, Mark, if you can confirm my screen's back on.
It is.
We want to remind you about how you can get started with Glew. Visit support.zoe.com, and if you search the word Glew, the Getting Started guide will pop right up in the search. In fact, the last I checked, it's the only page that should come up when you search Glew. We wanted to keep it easy to find. Remember that you must complete the Glew configuration steps before the initial sync with Zoe will take place. We also, I didn't put this here, but as a reminder, it must be the account owner who completes those steps. If you are a user under the account owner, they will still need to complete this before you have access, because for certain accounts there is a billing related question because it's not included with all plans. So we had to isolate it to the account owner as a result. So please definitely make sure that this step is completed so you can start to get into Glew. And as Mark mentioned, Google Analytics is sort of the highly recommended one to complete right away, because the information being pulled there, especially when it comes to attribution and some of the other things that Zoe can't record on its own, is really going to pull out the power of the platform. But then you do have access to other things you can integrate with, as Mark said, like AdWords, AdRoll, MailChimp. I know MailChimp is something that a lot of you use. So definitely consider integrating other things as well, which will get you the most powerful result. So definitely consider that if you already have those logins handy and are doing those types of things today. Now, obviously, you may have some questions about Glew, especially those of you who have already dived in. We have seen a lot of you have already activated your Glew accounts, which is great. So if you have questions for Mark and myself about Glew or capabilities or how to do things, feel free to submit them at this time. Use the questions feature inside GoToWebinar so we can take your questions. We're going to review those questions right now and provide answers for you. And again, we're going to go over everything that we have time to go over. We have a generous amount of time at this point before the presentation is scheduled to end, so we can get to a lot of your questions today. And definitely let us know what you want to know so we can address that here. If you come up with questions after this presentation, that's fine. Just simply email me at josh@zoe.com and I'll work with Mark to get those answers for you. So the first question that came in is for me. Will there be any plans to include basic info within Zoe, for example, traffic, amount sold that day, etc.? So we understand that because the old Giraffe was embedded into Zoe, that we do not have something directly inside the platform right now. At the moment, that is not scheduled to be the case. We have, for those of you who do not have access to Glew, or choosing not to use Glew because it's an additional charge for your plan, we have upgraded Google Analytics to enable enhanced e-commerce reporting capabilities. So we've done that upgrade automatically for merchants. There's a step or two you need to take, that's also found in our support documentation. So you can search, the Google Analytics enhanced e-commerce there and find it. And so as a result of that, there's nothing inside Zoe directly, but there is a way to get those reports regardless of your choice of what you want to use. Glew will have it and more, and Google Analytics will have just about that and basically approximate what Giraffe has. That I just wanted to talk about that up front. And I'll talk about pricing in a second because we do have a couple questions about that. But the next question is for you, Mark. Could you just sort of define and clarify what a BI tunnel is?
Sure. So what BI tunnel is the ability, and this is for people who have experience with, it stands for business intelligence. If you've ever heard of Tableau or Domo or Looker or Click, there's like a $1 billion industry that's been around for 25 years around business intelligence. What that essentially is the ability to create custom visualizations on your own that are unique to your business. What Glew does, and there's no feasible way to completely answer this question today, but a good way of high-level thinking of it is we can bring custom visualizations to life about 200 to 300 times faster than what you'd be able to do on your own. So what I would encourage you on the BI tunnel side is if there's custom visualizations or custom analytics using any sort of arrangement of different disparate data sources like Google Analytics, Zoe, ad channels, etc., that aren't just in Glew right now, don't be afraid to pipe up and ask that question and ask for that. Because we actually make it for the first time reasonable for a company making less than $200, $300 million a year to bring custom visualizations to life, and doing it so in a way that's cost effective and easy. But yeah, I hope that answers the question for now.
Thanks. So the next question we have is now going back to pricing. So the pricing scheme is as follows right now. Anybody who has any of the following plans today will get Glew at no additional charge. That is the entry plan, which is the current $299 plan on our site, the power plan, which is the $499 plan. We announced Advanced as the $799 plan, which is going to include quotes and other features. So that plan will, of course, include it. For those of you who are on the Legacy Business Plus or Premier Plus plans, those are also getting Glew. So the business plan is the main plan that is not getting it included at no additional charge. There are some other plans that we have with partners that we don't advertise publicly, but are just sort of bundled. And that will depend on that particular partnership. If you're uncertain whether you get Glew, the easiest way to see if Glew is included is to go to your account manager inside your Zoe dashboard. If it's inactive, you did not get it. If it is active, then you have Glew. But please note that the business customers, it was an opt-out process. We sent emails to all account owners at the beginning of April. If they did not opt out, Glew is enabled, but it is $20 a month. So for those customers, if you don't want to use Glew, if you're not interested in Glew, you can simply go to the account manager, disable it, and you will no longer be charged. So I know that's not an easy answer because it depends on which plan you have. If you have any questions about your specific situation, you can open a ticket with the Zoe support team, and they can clarify for you in your specific case. As a result of that, a percentage of our customers got it for free. A percentage of our customers have to pay, and it's $20 a month, which is a significant discount over the retail price, which is just one part of the partnership with Glew, is to be able to offer it at a sort of a Zoe specific price. So keep that in mind as well. If you were to go to Glew and sign up on your own, it would be a much more expensive proposition. So you're getting a very powerful platform at a great deal, basically. The next question from one of our merchants is if you can import offline orders into Glew.
You cannot. So the orders have to be coming directly out of the Zoe system. So and that's a good way of thinking about Glew in general. Not to over answer, but Glew is going to be what we call a mirror reflection of the disparate data sources integrated. The only thing that you'll be able to import that's not a quote unquote integrated source would be the cost of goods sold section underneath Product Cost Manager.
All right, thank you. The next question is someone who said that I've integrated my my Amazon store, but the data doesn't align with the AZ reporting. So the Glew dashboard says there was one sale of a product. The AZ report is saying 22. Can you answer why that might be the case?
Yep, so Amazon is a marketplace. What you'll notice with Amazon in the left-hand navigation menu is there's a section for marketplaces, and that will grow, right? With Amazon, eBay, Jet.com, as that gets bigger and bigger, Newegg, et cetera. Because of the nature of marketplaces, which are a very different animal, those would be disparate, meaning we're going to run analysis, but all the orders and all that information will be on a marketplace by marketplace basis in the bottom left-hand corner. If you're looking for merchant reporting, what I mean by merchant reporting is a holistic view of your whole business, maybe a revenue chart with Amazon, your Zoe, all of your data in one. That's where that BI tunnel feature would come in to allow you to build and create holistic views of your world as opposed to looking through it one channel at a time.
Thank you. The next question is one that relates to what you just answered relating to the offline orders. So do orders placed in Zoe by phone, aka manually, still come through? So I can take this one. The answer is yes, because there's still an order being created in Zoe. So because the data source is originating in Zoe as an order, even though you're placing the order as an admin user, there's still ultimately the end result is the same, which means that Glew has access to that information. So it'll still tie it to the customer because if you're selecting a customer, it'll relate back to that customer, et cetera. So it's using the same core data to be able to present it. So it will still be able to represent those orders appropriately. Question about being able to tag customers. Can they tag customers with their own type, such as wholesaler versus retailer? Can they tag that in Glew?
I'll defer to you, Josh. If you have tags in Zoe, there's our capacity to pull that in and run custom reporting through BI tunnel on it. But unless there's a setting in Zoe for that, then no.
So we do have customer groups in Zoe that exist. What we would just need to double check, and I unfortunately don't know the answer to this off the top of my head, so this is one we'll have to take offline and confirm whether those customer groupings are being then pulled into Glew automatically or not. I just don't know the answer to that. So if they are, then that would solve that question. Assuming to the customer's question that you are using Zoe's customer groups, and that's what you mean by tagging them. If you're not using them and looking to tag them separately, we may need to look at that as a separate question. So that's so far how many questions we've got in. I'll give you a couple more minutes to feel free to submit questions. Once again, you can use the questions feature and go to webinar to submit the question. Please submit any that you that come up. Anything else you might want to know prior to us wrapping it up. And while we're waiting for any last minute questions, just a reminder that we would love to hear your feedback of this webinar. Please email me at josh@zoe.com to let me know if this was helpful for you, what else you'd like to know, and also if there's any other topics you'd like to learn more about as we continue our webinar series. And remember that we have more webinars to come. We'll be announcing a couple more shortly, so keep an eye on that Merchant Webinars page. And then this recording will be posted within 24 hours. We'll also, as part of our new admin home screen, for those of you who noticed that, logging in recently, we'll be putting webinars on that, including announcements when the recordings are available. So once this recording is loaded, we will update that news accordingly. And go from there. So we did get a couple more questions in, so let's go back to the questions. Some product images are coming in from the Zoe product list, but not all. Do you happen to know why that might be the case? That sounds like it might be a good support ticket.
Yeah, I think so. I think this is just a guess. I'm afraid to guess, but I think it might be if the product was in there and no longer is, right? That might be it, but let's defer that to the I don't know section. Let's put a ticket in and get a hard answer on it.
Absolutely. And just, by the way, keep in mind, if you have Glew-specific support questions, the Glew team is expecting and looking forward to hearing from Zoe customers for support. If you open a support ticket with Zoe about Glew, unfortunately, we're going to probably refer you to Glew in most cases until we get more comfortable. But they're equally eager to help out our Zoe customers and make sure that that you get the help that you need. Are there plans to push customer segments to Adwords audiences? So like you can push a customer segment to MailChimp. Can you do the same, or will you be able to do the same at some point that you know of, Mark, for Glew?
It's a great question. Yeah, we're going to be rolling out a few more email engines like Klaviyo and Bronto in the next few quarters in 2018. by the end of 2018, we're going to start looking at what you're asking is called programmatic media. So whether it's Facebook or AdRoll or dynamic yield or whatever, the answer is yes, but it will be maybe 9 months to 12 months out on our roadmap.
Excellent. Another customer is using the M2E Pro extension, which is supported on Zoe, and it imports and creates orders in Zoe for eBay and Amazon. Should you connect to the Amazon Marketplace, or would that create duplicate information? Yes. Because you have Zoe orders, the Zoe orders will account for those orders when you pull in the Zoe data. If you then pull in the Marketplace data, you may have those orders represented from 2 different data sources, which would not be ideal. So unless, Mark, you would disagree, I would recommend, if it's already in Zoe, just relying on that.
I defer to Josh. I think Josh's way is the best.
Okay. Yep. So if you're already pulling those orders in, you'll avoid double representation by not doing the Amazon Marketplace link. So I would recommend against it at this point. And then actually, since we've kind of been nibbling around the edges here, so let's just quickly talk about the support aspect of it a little bit deeper. So our plan at Zoe is, obviously, as we get more comfortable, to be able to help customers in any way we can. The reality of a platform this size and having hundreds of you using it all at once without much on-ramp time. I mean, just so everybody knows, because Mark knows this, of course, because we've been working with them all along, but we found out that Giraffe was being shut down on March 1st. And we had to get this done by May 1st. So we really did our homework very quickly, selected a platform that we thought was going to be very helpful for you, and then basically got it live within 30 days, which is very quick. So the reality is that we got to play with Glew in a demo environment. Now we're getting to actually work with you as our customers and seeing what Zoe data looks like, which isn't exactly the same in some cases, because what we import may be different from what another platform imports, right? So keeping that in mind, Glew is going to be helping us as much as they're going to be helping you in the short term. So definitely leverage Glew's support team if you have questions. If you leverage us, we'll do our very best to help you as well, but we may need to defer to Glew's support team for questions we don't know. And as we get stronger with it and using it day to day, just like we did with Giraffe, we'll end up getting more and more comfortable helping you directly. But at the moment, please anticipate a bit of a delay if we need to contact Glew, or we may refer you to Glew's support team directly in certain cases if we're just unable to help. And we just want to be upfront about that, so there's no surprises and no one is frustrated by that experience. We just want to be honest about where we are today. It doesn't look like we have any more questions coming in, so I think we'll call it an afternoon. Thank you to everybody for joining us, and thank you to Mark for the presentation. I would anticipate that at some point in the future we'll do a follow-up presentation around topics that are of interest for our merchants. So when we get to that point, we'll be polling our merchant community to find out what they'd like to learn and understand about Glew, and go from there. But in the meantime, definitely let us know what you thought of this presentation. Again, josh@zoe.com, and I'll definitely take in your feedback, and we'll continue to work to make the merchant webinar series useful for you. On that note, have a great day, and we'll see you very soon. Thanks again.